Hey everybody, welcome back to Sergeant's Talk TV. I'm Big Mike.
Normal size Jason.
Yep. Hey guys, Jason should be totally relaxed. Okay. He went on vacation. Okay. Not like the Forrest Gump vacation where you go on vacation and you never come back.
Right.
But he had to put some work in. There was a lot of driving involved.
It is. I'm kind of like trying to figure out how do I hire a driver for these vacation things because it's fun while I'm on it, but then I got to drive home for umpteen hours, and I'm like, now I'm wore out again.
Yeah. So, man, that's a lot of driving. Long drives I leave up to Terry. I let her do it. I wake up. I said, man, that was a short ride to Tim's house. Because I sleep all the way there. And she likes it because I don't backseat driver. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I will confess that Tara did drive most of the way to Texas to go on the cruise. I drove as much as I could. We had slept for a few hours and then got up and hit the road. And I got so far and I was finally like, you know what? No. All right. It was in her car anyway. So it's, I finally went over to the passenger seat and did my rightful duty as a co-driver and went to sleep.
There you go. Yeah. Hey, so guys, we're glad you're here. Tonight, we're going to be breaking down the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth's speech to his senior military leaders. If you missed that speech, the link is in the description, so please check that out. Not right now, but check it out later. But we're going to break it down and talk about it. And there was a few people that were upset about it. Okay, because we got to remember something. We just came through 4 years of total wokeness, and you have to worry about people's feelings and how they're going to feel after you talk to them and all this other BS. But Pete Hegseth, he laid it on the line. He talked to them like they're grown up people. You know what I mean?
Like he should. Like it should have been from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like I'll tell you the easiest summation. When it was done, I was ready to go back to the recruiting office. I'm like, absolutely sign me back up. And then I remembered he talked about physical height and weight standards, and I was like, I'm going to stay retired.
Yeah. I couldn't get back in. They don't want a broken down old vet coming back in and screwing up everything for them.
Right.
Doing more paperwork to get rid of the old bastard. But before we get started with that, let's say hello to our friends in the chat. Oh, let me scroll back up here. There's Rebecca, Touched by Yarn. Welcome in. There's our friends over in Indiana. How's Colin doing?
Oh, well, he's got to be good. He's got popcorn, so.
You got popcorn.
You can't never go wrong with popcorn.
Yeah. And there's our dear friend Dana Mason saying hello to us.
So good every time. Seeing her face pop up now, just glad she has made it through that.
Yep. Hey, and here's somebody you might know.
There is my brother Eddie over there, Devil Dog. Great thing, guys. Eddie and I got to meet in person finally. He's hosted a few meetups and stuff back in the day down in Texas, and we haven't been able to get down there much. But he knew when we were talking about going. He's like, "Wait a minute, if you're going out of there, we're not far." And we connected. Had some great coffee. Just sat around and chatted for. Well, probably longer than my wife liked, but a couple hours. But it was an awesome time hanging out with Eddie and putting that face to the name, getting that hug, shaking that hand. It was awesome.
Has his beard grown out?
It's coming. It's coming. I think it's actually probably a little longer than mine, but he's not wasting any time getting it back.
Yeah.
So
there's my Sergeant Major. She's in here.
There's Ricky Smith, old neighbor from Veterans Landing. Always good to see you, Ricky.
There's Tim Mason. Welcome in, brother. I'm waiting for Tim Mason and Dana to come visit us because I got a project for Tim. I got my 30 and 50 amp breaker box in for my travel trailer. I got the 30. My trailer's a 30, but I got a 30 and a 50 in case somebody comes and visits us. Like lazy days ahead when they're coming through or whatever, and they require a 50 amp.
Yeah.
So I went ahead. It was only, I think when I bought it, it was only like $11 more with the 50 amp one in there. Plus, it's got a 110 plug in, whatever. And he's going to help me do that. He's going to tell me what kind of wire to buy, breaker to buy, all that, because I don't know nothing about electricity, but it shocks the crap out of you when you screw up. And I know this for a fact.
You only got to touch one at a time. Just one at a time, you'll be okay.
Yeah. Hey, there's the Newman family.
What's going on, Spencer?
Yeah.
All the way from Kansas. Their favorite female Marine. There's Dawn, another neighbor.
And there's Back to Good.
Rachel and Sean over there.
Back to Good starting to get more neighbors over there, aren't they? They got David's property that's over that way. Then David bought 10 more acres by them, and then he sold 2 to
Mary and Miley. Yeah,
Mary and Miley, and then he sold 2 more to Pops.
Yeah.
Who's going to be busy over there. I watched the video where they brought the fiber through there and ran that stuff. So yeah, the neighborhood is growing.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a neighborhood now. They're going to all be having HOA taxes and fees.
That's what David should do: charge HOA fees.
Well, I keep asking him at the rate he's buying up land is how much more land does he need to buy before they just rename the county after him?
Yeah. There's Barbara Castile. Welcome in, Barbara. Let's see.
I imagine if Barbara's there, Ray's probably hanging around. There's Ray right there. I knew they'd be together.
Brother Ray's here. And I think we've said hello to everybody. We got 18 people in here. We welcome you guys in. Like we said, recent statements and speeches by Pete Hegseth, who is using the secondary title as Secretary of War, focuses on military reform aimed at prioritizing lethality and removing all what he calls woke ideology from the armed forces. In a notable September 2025 address at Marine Corps Barracks Quantico, Hegseth laid out his vision to hundreds of senior military leaders, and that's sergeants majors and all the general and stuff like that. Hegseth's speech directed military leaders to resign if they were opposed to his plan overhauling the U.S. Armed Forces, which include ending diversity programs, implementing stricter physical and grooming standards. I know I was kind of shocked being a civilian now, and all of a sudden we don't see a lot of military people on base here. It's 1,500 and something civilians. We have one military guy or a person that is the commander. But all of a sudden we had some people come in to go to school for ammo school here. They do come in, military people do come in. And this captain walked by me and she had gold studs in her ear in camos. And I said, "Oh, hey, ma'am, you forgot to take out your studs." And she goes, "Oh, no. She goes, "They changed it. We can wear this in combat uniform now." I'm going, "What?
Yeah.
What the hell?" And now they can wear, girls can wear their hair in a ponytail. I didn't know that either.
I I kind of did the same thing the last time I went on a military base. Started looking around, and I'm like, well, is there no standard? Like, did we just get rid of them all, or yeah, was kind of. I mean, honestly, I was disgusted by it because I'm like, no, like we're supposed to be above and beyond and be better than everybody else and not have to conform to looking, like an average person on the street. We should stand out. And
So do they make a military grade cap that has the ponytail hole in the back? I don't know.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, clearly not being female, and we didn't have females in the unit, so I didn't have to deal with a lot of their standards of what they were allowed to have and what they weren't. But I know being in the Marine Corps, it was like if their hair wasn't like glued to their head and in a really tight bun in the back.
Right.
I think there was one style of really short haircut they could get away with. Other than that, it was like, hey, shellac that thing down to their head and call it a day.
Yeah, they got a whole neighborhood going on down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see Dawn's comment about the mower?
Dawn?
Yeah. Talking about bringing her lawnmower. All you got to do is drop it at my place.
I can probably get it in there. I just put down the back seats and stuff. It's only my stuff going. So I'll see if I'll get the mower in there, and I can bring it. I'm gonna be at Jason's house on Thursday. I can just drop it off there if that's close enough for you to come get it.
It is. Because either we got to go to Dawn's or Dawn's gonna have to come here either way. Because I've still got her koozie, we still got pajamas for her, and I'm pretty sure she's wanting to go raid the freezer of zucchini bread. So
yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
I'll get that mower loaded. So yeah, cool beans.
So so following Secretary of War's speech, it was reported that two senior leaders requested retirement: General Brian Fenton and General Thomas Bouzier. However, according to the Pentagon, their retirements were already filed and unrelated to the speech. Details of the leader. So General Brian Fenton was head of U.S. Special Operations Command, retired after 3 years in his role. An advisor to Hegseth stated his retirement was not related to the speech. And then General Thomas Bouzier, head of Air Force Global Strike Command, he announced his retirement shortly after the speech, citing personal and family reasons. Before this speech, Hegseth had already fired numerous other senior military officials as part of a campaign to remove leaders he described as woke.
Yeah. I mean, he's serious. These people, I mean, they're finding them more and more within this administration, and they're really going after them and just releasing them and saying, hey, and part of that releasing people like that, what you do is you just eliminate their position. And again, you can't hire that position for 5 years in a government setting like that. So if they can't, like, hey, you're woke and you're gone, but if they want to get rid of you, the way to do it, the legal way is just eliminate the position, and then they eliminate it, you're gone, and that's that. So, and I agree with them. I mean, I agree with this statement. No more dudes in dresses.
Right.
And I think there was a couple of hundred people, didn't it say? I read somewhere a couple of hundred people or more was released out of the military for identifying as transgender, because, like Pete Hegseth said in his speech, there's a mental issue here.
Yeah.
Okay. And I agree with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, when they started, even when he first started going in and the stuff didn't get super publicized, and I kind of want to precursor this with the funny thing, because I received a couple phone calls from people that, you know, everyone, all the news media outlets, right, were blowing up the fact that they're calling all the leading generals to Quantico or to DC or wherever, which I mean, it ended up being in Quantico, but they're calling them all in, like it's you know, everyone's prepping like it's going to be World War III, and I'm like, I giggled, and they're like, well, what's so funny? Like, we're going to end. And I'm like, no, like, that's part of their job, is to go up and do these mass, you know, just this one is more publicized because it has a lot of changes, and he probably called more people than he normally would to a meeting like this. But how out of context that everybody was taking it as to why they were calling him up. I mean, if you watched anything, they've been changing policies. He's been firing generals and officials and people that are not seceding to the new policy, which oddly enough, like when he talks about it, right, he talks about this whole 1990 test, and going back to the standards, and it's not even that we're going back. It's the fact that most of the standards that are current now were set in the 90s. It's just because of all the political, ideological stuff that got put into the military, which should have never been there to begin with.
Right.
So all we're doing is going back to reinforce those standards. It's not creating new standards. It's not saying, oh, he's just mad because they don't meet the standards. Bye, Felicia. You shouldn't be there anyways.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like when he was talking about the height weight standards, and he was talking about, hey, you need to walk around the Pentagon if you want to see a bunch of fat people,
right,
in uniform, you know. And we're talking about general officers. He was telling everybody from the top general all the way down to the lonely private, you're going to meet the height weight standard, and you are going to take a PT test every 6 months. Mm-hmm. No ifs, ands, or buts. So how many people do you think that are generals pencil whip their PT test?
Well, and it wasn't there, if I remember correctly, there was actually an age cutoff. Once they got to a certain age, they didn't have to do it anymore. I might be wrong, but it seemed like there was, because I remember some of the real crusty guys that were around, they actually didn't, as long as they met the height weight standards, they didn't actually even have to go run one. And I'm like, how does that work? Like, we're
I never heard
of the same place. But then you would find the guys that got put in different positions. You know, if you went to a schoolhouse, so, you know, unless you were a platform instructor, you know, a lot of times you weren't required, but once a year to go do a PT test, or recruiters, you know, like certain billets that were out there. They were the guys that were really getting out of standard because they weren't in a unit that was a combat unit that was deployable. And so then, because we weren't allowed to hurt any feelings, we weren't allowed to tell them that you're overweight, you need to run.
So I mean, he talked about the height weight standard. He talked about the hair. He talked about the beards, shaving, and shaving profiles are going to be out the window because if you have to go a whole career on a shaving profile, then you need to go, because if you can't seal your mask in the Army, then you can't deploy. So, you know, I've seen guys, 3 years, guy on a shaving profile. And I'm just like going, well, you know, holy shit. If it's something that you can't fix, then you're not meeting the standard. You know, he's saying that shaving profiles are done. We're done with the shaving profiles. I mean, we'll see. We'll see if it happens. I mean, I know that people will complain, call their Democratic congressperson or whatever, and they'll put a court injunction, and then they're going to find out after a long go around, if that's the standard in the military, you're out.
Right.
You know, that's what.
Well,
That's
and that's the thing is the shaving profile, and I get it. I seen Marines when I was in that had the same problem, right?
yeah,
But it's a medical condition, and that's exactly what he talked about. If
yeah,
you go to medical with any other medical condition, and it is a long term, and it makes you non-deployable because you can't put a gas mask on or you physically can't do something else, right? There's a time limit on how long you can be on a medical profile before they separate you.
yeah,
They're like, hey, guess what? You don't meet medical standards. You're not going to be back to 100%, and you can't meet it. Boom, you're out. So why is the shaving thing like that? It always annoyed me, and that's I think why I was so excited about his speech. And I've listened to it numerous times,
yeah,
um, just because it's the things that they told us, it's the things that they taught us. They're no different. Obviously, the standards are no different from when I was in and when you were in.
yeah.
It really isn't. The thing
No.
that changed, and that's what he's talking about, the thing that changed was the enforcement of those standards. And how people got so lackadaisical of, well, I'm not allowed, and tie in the hands of the leadership, you're not allowed to complain about them, not, having a shaving shit. I, if it's that much of a medical condition and you're requiring me who doesn't have it, I have to shave my face every single day because if I need to put a gas mask on, then what? Like
Yeah,
one standard, and I think that's the best thing out of everything that he said. Not taken away from some of the other points, but the fact that it's going to one standard. You make one standard. That's it. You want to
yeah.
join? Meet that one standard. If
Right.
not, hey, too bad, so sad. Go to college. Go do something else. Go somewhere else. Not my problem. One standard, and that's the way it needs to be because any one of us, as he puts it, could be on the battlefield and have to drag somebody else out. And if you don't meet that one standard, which means that you have the ability to drag anybody else around you out, see ya.
Yeah,
Like,
and I
no need.
agree. Uh, Hegseth talked about renaming the Department of Defense. He said publicly referred to the Department of Defense as the Department of War, a change authorized by a September 2025 executive order by President Donald Trump, and the move signals a shift from defensive posture to a more aggressive warfighter focus. And that I agree with. I mean, years and years ago, they changed it after World War II or whatever it
Yep.
was. They changed it, and they didn't change it back until now, because it is. It should. I think it should be called the Department of War. It should be. You know, he's a Secretary of War. What does the military do? They train to fight America's battles. Okay, they don't train to go camping. They don't train to do all this other BS bullshit. They train for war. That's their only mission. That's why we suck at peacekeeping missions.
Right.
Okay, because you train us from Jump Street, shoot, move, and communicate. That's what you do. Okay, basic trainings are going back to infantry basic trainings. Everybody should be, and the Army's bad about that. Okay. The Army is bad about that, but you're going back to all those basic infantry skills because you're an infantryman, or as you guys call them, what do they call riflemen?
Every Marine's a rifleman. Yep.
Yeah, and that's the way the Army should be. That's the way the Air Force should be. And that's the way the Navy should be. Okay? Stop doing all this DEI bullshit training. And there's a lot of it, guys. Even as a DA civilian, there's a lot of it for us, too. Get rid of that crap so you can train on war fighting. Okay? So look at this. And I remember this because I was the director for an army on an army base. There was 23 mandatory trainings. Every single person in the army had to do every single year. if you knew how big the Department of Defense is, and everybody has to do that, and some of them are an hour, 2 hour, you got to take tests, you got to do all this other shit on, DEI, on EEO, on all kinds of EEO has a bunch of them in there, and then you have to set through classroom trainings on the same thing. And then they change everything midstream and says, oh yeah, this year, instead of doing it on the computer, everybody's got to stop what they're doing and they got to go and sit in a classroom, and some person, and that person most of the time was crap. I'm sorry. They were crap about teaching a class. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. Okay. And they just wanted to be friends with everybody. And that absolutely irked the crap out of me to no end. So he also reclaiming the warrior ethos. Hegseth argued that the military must regain its focus on winning wars decisively, and that the word defense has led to a prolonged unresolved conflicts. He framed the rebranding as a restoration of military identity, stating that the name change is not just about renaming, it's about restoring the warrior ethos back into our ranks. Okay? Now, I'm going to tell you something. One of the things they've got to do is, if you can't make the height weight standard, this crap about, because I remember when we went to Desert Storm, I don't care if you were sick, lame, fat, or lazy, you were deploying. Okay, they stopped your chapter paperwork because you're a disgusting fat body. Okay, they stopped it. They let you go. You came back. If you were still fat, then they started the chapter paperwork up again.
Yeah.
Like, what the frick? Well, yeah, but I mean, here's and these guys. Okay, you go out on deployment, or you're deployed somewhere, and then you've got these MRE rangers. They're just eating MREs like there's nobody's fucking business. All right, eating 3 and 4 MREs a freaking day. Dude, you know how many calories that is?
It takes me 3 days on most deployments. 3 days to eat one MRE, like complete, every bit of it.
I mean, I was too busy. I drank a shit ton of coffee and a lot of water, but I didn't sit there and, you're in the rear with the gear at the BSA or whatever, battalion support area or whatever, and you're just waiting for the next, order to come through, and you're just sitting around, spooning this stuff in your mouth, and you're getting heavier and heavier because, who was doing? I mean, we did real PT. I think it was just for show for the other nations when we were in KKMC, King Khalid Military Air Base. When we were there and everybody was lining up, we were out doing PT. Everybody was, people from Syria and all these. They're going, what the frick are these guys? It's 115 freaking degrees out there, and they're running. People passing out, and I don't know what it was, but we did it. I don't know. I just don't know. I know when we went to Bosnia, we didn't do no PT at all in Bosnia because the bases were too freaking small. Number one, you had, all your towers up, your bunkers up, your foxholes dug. You had shifts going into, on guard duty all night to protect the perimeter and stuff like that in Bosnia. Right. And number one, it wasn't that a force was going to come in. Man, these guys were stealing shit from us left and right.
Well, that's kind of the whole point of meeting that standard. And he talked about it very specific in the speech, was going back to, hey, PT every day. He's like, if I can go out and do hard PT every single day, then every member of our military should be able to do hard PT every single day.
I
And
agree.
when you're in the rear, right, you're not on an active deployment, to where you're doing active operations. I mean, I kind of think about that too, is like, if you're doing all the training back in the rear, which is what you're supposed to do, right? We train for war. We train for how we want to play, just like any other sports team that you were on growing up, right? You practice for the game.
Right.
And the deployment is the game. Well, you're not practicing during the game. You're not practicing. Now, if you were in a position, like I remember we went out, we did a whole bunch of missions, but then when we would come back, there would be some downtime where they're like, hey, you got a couple weeks. The guys would go out, we'd do PT because we weren't doing anything else. We were in a more rear area base. But the idea is, if you're training when you're stateside or wherever your main base is, you shouldn't have to continue because you're staying busy during your operations. And that's the whole point of it, is like, you're going to train harder. You're going to do things harder. That way, when you get out there, well, there was that one time, Patrick, that maybe everywhere weight loss.
Some manscaping.
Right. But yeah, that's not the point. We train to go on these deployments to go to war to defend our Constitution. And when you get over there, that's not the time that you're supposed to be catching up. And I've seen it a lot of times. That's when they, instead of putting them on that profile for height weight, they waited till we were on the deployment, and then they're like, well, we're in 140 degrees every day. Like, you need to go over. They would set up a gym. And because they knew, like, they didn't have the access to all the food that you would back stateside. But, I mean, if you don't make it, you don't make it. Like,
right.
It should not be. And the one thing that I do remember kind of finishing up this last little part was he had stated it, and it was a quote. I can't remember who he got the quote from, but he's like, those who long for peace must prepare for war. And that was a huge statement. Like, in my brain, I just like locked in on it, and talking about doing this whole restoring it back and going to the War Department,
Right.
part of that mental change. So looking at personnel and leadership reforms, he was very big on very specific things for this. Promotion based on merit. Yes.
Yeah.
Hegseth announced that promotions would be based solely on merit, not race or gender quotas. He emphasized the importance of competent, qualified, and aggressive leaders, even those with minor infractions.
Yeah.
And
that's, I'm going to tell you something. I've seen it. I've been on promotion lists several times in the military, right? And the first time I was on the E7 list, or gunny sergeant list, as you guys call it, I was number 19 on that list. And I go, the preliminary list came out. My sergeant major was he was up on DC. He was sitting on the board. My division sergeant major was, and I'm going, and he called up. He knew me, and he said, "Hey, you're number 19 on the freaking list, buddy." I said, "How many's on the list?" He goes, 55 people, and you're number 19. And I go, "Oh, wow." He goes, "But that's the preliminary list." I go, "Oh, really?" And so when the list got published in Army Times, all of a sudden I look up there and I am number 52. I said, "What?" So when he got back, I said, "Hey, what the hell is this? You said I was 19. I'm number 52 on the list." And he's going, "Dude," he goes, "when we're done with the boards, then those names go over to the DOD and the Army, to the equal opportunity places, and they look everybody's information up." And I go, "What?" He goes, they want to know if you're male, you're female, and what ethnicity you are. I said, why? He goes, because then they'll say, if the percentage on the list is not equal among races and female and male and stuff like that, then whatever list, because they rank everybody, but then they say you only got 55 quotas. So everybody 55 and above gets promoted. But what they do is to meet all their quotas, there's got to be so many females on there. There's got to be so many African Americans on there, Hispanic on there, Island Pacificers on there, blah, blah, blah. I ended up number 52. Okay. And he looked at me, he goes, and you should count yourself lucky. Right. I'm going, holy crap. Then when I was on the list for E8. I can't remember where I started off, but when the list came out, there was something like, I think, 72 people on that list. And I was number 61.
Yeah.
So I don't know where I didn't have anybody I knew that was sitting on the board that year, but I don't know where I started, and I know where I ended up at. Okay. But that's what they were doing. Under this, don't give a shit what color you are, what your religion, what gender you are, don't care. It is what have you done? What qualifies you to meet the requirements for the next rank? Are you going to be a good leader? Merit is what they're going to use. And I said, you know what? I've always said that. You know, that's the only way you can have lead. If you've earned it, you earned it. Okay? I don't care if you're male, female, whatever. If you've done the right things to earn the promotion, then you should get it because of what you've done and not who you are.
And that's the hard part. Like you said, it was going on even back when you were in. Right?
Yeah.
It was still going on when I was in. And the thing is, we sat in those same classes. I imagine whether it was Army, Marine Corps, the classes are not that much different.
Yeah.
Equal opportunity, and you know that you've got a criteria, right? There's certain things, but for you to go from this rank to the next rank, you need to meet those criteria. Your time in service, different classes, different courses, your time and grade all together, time and there was all these factors. Never once was it in there like, oh, well, maybe you should change your race, or maybe you should change your gender, or you know what I mean? That was never an option. It was never even talked about because they said none of that matters.
Right.
Religion, sex, and creed doesn't matter. It's your performance. Yeah, like you said, you go to promotion boards, and I question this because I was the number one staff sergeant in my MOS for, I think the year I retired, that would have been like the 6th year that I was the most senior staff sergeant in my MOS.
Right.
Could not get promoted. And I watched other guys get promoted above me. And I know it was this DEI type stuff. They just didn't call it DEI back then. Is the only reason that they got promoted. But then tell me, if those factors didn't matter, why at the end of every promotion cycle do they send the reports out and it breaks it down by your ethnicity, your race, your religion, like all of those things were a factor.
Right.
If those didn't matter, then why did that report need to come out?
Right.
And it was every day, it was rampant. So I'm worried about this only in the fact that I hope that he can actually get it implemented the way that it needs to be implemented.
Right.
I love everything that he's trying to do, but at the same time, he's up there with all the politicians. So is he just saying the right thing? I don't think he is. I think he's a no shit. Hey, I'm telling you, this is what's going to happen. He was very adamant. There's 10 directives he's putting out to these generals that are running all these branches. And now it's going to be on them. And I hope that the tools that he's instilling, that they take those and run.
Yeah.
Actually do this stuff, implement it, because our military needs it.
Right.
And that's part of why, like I said, I looked forward to having a military of what he's trying to build. I'm excited for it. That what he's trying to build and what they're trying to put it back to, because it's like standards have been the same. They've, look at the dates on the policies, but what they're trying to enforce and put them back to going following those standards is what I thought I was signing up for and joining when I signed the papers for the Marine Corps. And I was sadly disappointed and mistaken when I got in and wasn't. So, and part of that is this, like the next one, risk-taking and courage. So, citing leaders like General Patton, Hegseth pushed to end a poisonous culture of risk aversion by overhauling the system that tracks officers' mistakes. And I didn't follow a lot of the officer rank stuff very much because I wasn't an officer, but I did watch what some of them did and some of the decisions that they made. I like how he uses those fancier words. I really just called them ribbon chasers. You knew the ones that were, and they would write up and they were yes men. They just went along because they're like, hey, if I just agree and yes, I'm going to get all these fancy ribbons to take back home. And so hopefully that is going to eliminate that.
Well, I'm going to tell you that I think Pete Hegseth is doing the things he wished they would do when he was a platoon leader. Yeah, he ended up as a lieutenant colonel, but I think that he, how you always say, man, if I was a general for a day, I would freaking clean this, and he's actually living it. And I think a lot, I don't know how many of those general officers are, under their breath is saying, you fucking little weasel piece of shit and stuff like that to Pete Hegseth, because they're being told, all they know is, hey, I'm being told, number one, by a civilian. Number two, he was only a lieutenant colonel. Okay. But, I think he's doing the things because he's seen it. He lived it. Okay. He lived through all that stuff. When you're a lower enlisted, you get permission for everything as an officer. But he was probably one of those officers that took notes. You know what I mean? How many times I got screwed over and this and that and so on and so forth. He paid attention. He knew his men. Because look, he was right in the lead when they were busting down doors in Afghanistan. You know all about that. And it's just, you shouldn't lose your career because you made a decision in the heat of battle. Yeah, they told you not to fire back, but there's overwhelming fire, and he said, open fire. Okay? And then, of course, later on, you knew the rules of engagement, blah, blah, blah. I've heard officers get their ass chewed out over that stuff. But it's inherently natural. When someone's kicking your ass, you start kicking back. Right. You just don't fold up into the fetal position and lay there like a little puss on the ground. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and they train us no matter what branch, right? They train us for one mission. Go in, kick ass, take names, and, hey, come running out of there screaming America when everything's just a big dust cloud. Like, hey, you pick up the dust. We're not here to pick it up for you. Like, we came in, did what we needed to do. We're hoofing it out, and we're ready to go hit the next mission. Like, and that's what he's wanting to get it back to. And I don't know. I think part of it, one, yes, exactly, right? He came out a lieutenant colonel. Some people, I've seen it throughout, different conversations on social media, while he was just National Guard. He did 3 different stints in National Guard. He made it to lieutenant colonel. He had deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan. He wasn't just your typical run-of-the-mill, big old country boy just here to do my weekend, collect my check. He was in there doing it. And for me, what I see, him and I are the same age.
Yeah.
He's 6 months older than me.
Yeah.
So I know, and when you made that comment, like maybe it's how he's seen. I know it's exactly what he's seen. He came in with an expectation, a lot like I did, what we were taught and what we were trained, of this is what the military is going to be like. Here's the standards. Everybody has to adhere to them. Well, except for this guy because he does this and that guy. Like you get all the buts. And that was funny in one of his conversations or during the speech. He had talked about, think about these platoons that you're running. Would you want your own child, your own son or daughter, to be part of that same platoon that you're in charge of letting be all nasty and disgusting and all this, and you're going to put their life? If your answer is no or yes, but we'll accept your resignation.
Yeah. I'd rather my son come back and say, hey, Dad, I was in the military and I only got to E4, but I spent, 5 years in the military and I couldn't get promoted. And I said, well, if that's the way you're doing it, you didn't do enough to get promoted. I'd rather do that than my son come back and knowing that you didn't get promoted because, if you weren't a certain gender, if you weren't a certain race or whatever, you didn't get promoted. That I don't think is fair to anybody. And now back to Pete Hegseth. The dude graduated from Harvard.
Yeah.
It's not like going to, Bill and Ted's community freaking college.
Right.
And getting a 2-year education and then coming into the military. It's not like that. Okay. You don't go to Harvard and think you're going to party like you're at Arizona State University and you're going to pass classes on a hangover. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen.
Right.
And I was proud of him when he tore up his Harvard diploma because it was so freaking woke. He said, I don't even want to be associated with these yahoos. I mean, your education follows you, but the symbolic of I don't want to be associated with this university on how it's treating people.
Right.
Okay. And I think he's absolutely correct in what he's doing. So.
Oh, absolutely. So his warning to the dissenters, he issued an ultimatum to military leaders who did not align with his vision, telling them do the honorable thing and resign. This has reportedly sparked fears of senior level departures. And it should. It really should. Like, honestly, the top is too fat and heavy anyways. And that's part of it. And that is something that they've been doing for many, many years. It's actually part of why I got to retire at 17 years without doing my full 20, was because they were already cutting the fat. There were too many, and like they started off with a lot of the higher officers, and then they went to the senior enlisted. There's just too many sitting there stagnant, not getting promoted, not doing it. And I jumped on it because I was either going to volunteer or get voluntold. Either way, I was retiring early.
They have retention points by grade in each MOS and stuff like that in the military.
Yeah, and I think that this is part of going back to an overall, right? I mean, the Marine Corps is always really small to begin with, but I think every branch is going back to a slimmer but more aggressive, faster and effective fighting force than having to bring her along the sludge. Like, we don't need the sludge. Hey, high speed, low drag, let's go. All the sludge can go work at the chemical plant downtown somewhere.
Yeah, Cuddly Texan, there were 2 4-stars that retired, and it was after the speech, but they both, one of them already had his retirement paperwork in there prior to this, and then the other one was doing it because of family reasons. He said it had nothing to do with that. I know the liberal media was blasting, they're leaving the ranks and stuff like that, and that is not true. But on those 2 generals, we talked about it at the beginning of the show. They already had plans to get out anyway. So.
And then the last for this part was reducing bureaucracy. We all know I love that word.
Yes, you do.
Hegseth proposed streamlining leadership, citing a large number of four-star generals and arguing that there's an inverse relationship between the size of staffs and victory on the battlefield. Just like I was saying, there's too many chiefs, not enough Indians, because they can get into that position and just sit there and ride it out for as long as they want, like until somebody like Pete Hegseth comes along and says, nope, you're not performing, you're not up to snuff. And we really don't need 17 generals up here. Like, we could do it with 5.
Yeah, you don't need a platoon to follow a general around.
Right. So yeah, I think that reducing that size, and then giving that power back to the leadership, the commanders, all the way down to the NCO level, giving them that power that they have earned by reaching that position and serving their time and following the orders and policies, and let them uphold somebody below them.
Yeah. And the way our military is broken down, you can lose your platoon leader and your platoon's going to keep fighting because the NCOs are right on line. The way we brief, the way we train, the way we do everything, the NCO just stands up anyway and directs fire anyway, with the lieutenant there or not. Same thing if a company commander, first sergeant jumps in there and he's balls to the wall. Okay. That's the way it should be. Okay.
I only seen it, the officers. The officers
the
are there for the
officers.
meetings.
The German army was a thing during World War II. You kill the officers, and they're just going, loss is low. So, what the hell do we do now? And that's the way it was. I have a friend named Carl. His dad was part of a group called the Black Devils. They were a special forces unit that went across North Africa into Sicily, Italy, and their whole job was to assassinate officers in the German army. And they would creep in the night, cut throats, and do all this stuff. I sit up and talk with this man for the longest time, for every time I went deer hunting up on his property in North Missouri, and I would sit down and talk to him about that. And he was telling me about that. And then I read about it. And the reason they call him the Black Devil, because there was one black soldier that was in their platoon. And that's what they did. And he goes, you kill the officers, the enlisted people is totally disrupted because they're not told anything. They're told to shoot here, go there, and everything. In our military, everybody knows the battle plan before you LD on the line of departure. So,
right.
So training and readiness, focus on basic combat skills. The secretary directed a significant reduction in what he called ridiculous mandatory training, including online courses and PowerPoint presentations. We call that death by PowerPoint.
Yes.
He wants to increase time spent on combat fundamentals like weapons training and motor pool skills. And people, if you ever served in the military, you spend a lot of time in the motor pools. But the good thing about spending a lot of time on your vehicle is you get to know your vehicle. Unless you want to freaking walk, you need to pay attention in the motor pool. And that's what we did. I mean, we had guys that we were fixing up. Hey, every time we deployed, we had a mechanic from the motor pool as part of our platoon. Okay. And it was because we had all-wheeled vehicles at one time. I was in a platoon with all-wheel vehicles. And then if we were in track vehicles, then we had a track mechanic with us. So we had that. They deployed. They were part of our team. They went to the range with us. They did training with us. They did all that stuff with us. They were part of the platoon. And yes, they had to pick up a rifle and do basic infantry when it's needed. So that's the way it should be. And, everybody was saying, oh, I don't want to be in Big Mike's, platoon. I got to do all this stupid shit. But that's what you're going to do. Okay. Physical standards, reset. He announced a plan to enforce high gender neutral physical standards for combat jobs, stating that if women do not qualify, it is what it is. Okay, I agree. You know, if the requirement is you have to pick up a 50 cal barrel, okay, and you have to whatever, you have to run with it, or you have to do whatever. Let's just say that it isn't like, you know, from let's say whatever 60-pound barrel, they don't make a 30-pound barrel. You know what I mean? They don't do that. You know, that's not what happens. They don't make ammo cans lighter because you're male or female or heavier. They don't do it. You just grab stuff and you go. And I agree, for combat roles, there's a difference, all right, between combat MOSs, combat support, and combat service support. Okay, they're totally different. If you want to be in a tank, you got to be able to hump a frickin' round. Okay, that's just it. If you want to be in the artillery, you got to do the same thing. You can't just say, well, because you're female, all you're doing is the powder bags, and let us guys handle the heavy stuff. It doesn't happen like that.
Well, okay? And he put it.
Everybody blew up. Everybody blew up because he said that.
Yeah.
Because there's people blowing up that don't know shit about nothing.
Well, and they didn't listen to the rest of his conversation. They watched the video up to that point when he said that, and they clicked it off from the speech. What they didn't follow up and listen to the rest of the rest of it, right? And those are the people that I'm going to straight to their face call them uneducated, because you're not listening to the whole thing. You're not looking it up. Is he also said our enemies do not care. They don't care if you're male, you're female, whether you're black, white, green. They see us as an enemy. They don't really care. That doesn't bother them. They're not going to be like, oh, wait a minute, I won't shoot that person because it's a female, or oh, I won't, shoot that person because they're Asian. They don't care. You're wearing the uniform. It's got a U.S. flag on it. They're going to come for you. And if you don't have the ability to defend yourself, then you have to rely on the person next to you that now has to put their safety in danger to try to save you because you can't even rescue your own ass. Like, no, get out of here. Don't. And that's the part that every one of them that I seen that made a comment or something about that, especially on Facebook. I love to go through and I'll read some of the comments of these ignorant individuals. And they're like, but he said no women in the military. He never once, right? He's a major proponent of it and has even commended them for being in there. But you're so ignorant, you clicked it off because they said something you didn't want to hear. Oh, they hurt my feelings. You're the reason. You're the one of why we need to reinforce the standards. Right. And we don't want you in. And we don't care what your opinion. Like I wish I would have wrote it down exactly, right? But he had said, we don't need to be like everybody else. We are different. We are at a different standard. I know we've talked about it on here. The new normal, right? We are not normal. We shouldn't be expected to be normal because we aren't. Like, we served, we did it, we trained, we swore to an oath that we're going to be different from you. If you want to have your purple hair and have all your decisions and not sure what kind of pants or a dress you want to wear every day, that's you. Do you. Not in the military, though.
Right.
That's not the place for that distraction.
So, mandatory viewing. In October 2025, Hegseth mandated that all military service members will watch or read the transcript of his speech that he gave on the 30th of September. And I think everybody should. I think everybody needs to be online. Everybody needs to know, hey, this is what's coming down. Get ready. Okay, make your decision. Because I'm going to tell you something. All the branches of the military have met their quota, and they've met it in the first 90 days when Trump got sworn in. Within 90 days, they met their annual requirements. They're right now working on next year's. The numbers they're getting now are for next year. They're meeting their quotas for another year out. And it's amazing the difference between a woke agenda and a straightforward, get rid of the BS, treat everybody as on merit, okay? Get rid of all this BS freaking training in the middle and go back to learning how to shoot, move, and communicate.
Exactly. Yeah, and hey, once again, hey, if I was a base commander, that speech would be running on a loop in every base theater, on every installation, and every unit within that area would be going through it at some point.
Yep.
Like, it would be a constant. Hey, they can play Hamas and all this stuff over the loudspeakers. Hey, there's base emergency systems. Start playing it over the PA of every military installation. Like, so criticism of wokeness. And I think that that's what's hurt everybody's feelings, because they're woke, and that's a them problem, not an us problem. Anti-woke stance. So a central theme of his speeches is the rejection of politically correct leadership and woke culture, which he claims have distracted the military from its core mission. He asserted that the Pentagon is ending the war on warriors.
Yeah. And that's what they were doing.
Yeah. Well, and it was.
Everybody was collecting a damn paycheck. That's all they were doing.
Yeah. And you weren't allowed to correct young soldiers. You know, they weren't allowed to yell at them in boot camp. They couldn't toss their racks. And I'm glad he put that specifically out there. Was like, guess what? Boot camp is going to be boot camp.
Yeah. And you're going to get yelled at.
You're going to get yelled at. You're going to get touched. You're going to get your shit thrown around the squad bay. And you're going to be made to feel miserable. That's the point. That's what needs to happen. Because all of those things are what weed out the weak ones. And no branch of the military, no matter how much crap we give any of our brothers and sisters in other branches, of whether they're, good or not, right? We all serve, we all swear to the one oath. We only need one standard, and we don't need the weakness, and none of it. None of it.
Now, he did say, if you remember in there, this doesn't give you drill sergeants a license to assault anybody.
No.
But it does give you the license to correct somebody on the spot before they freaking hurt themselves.
And he made up that sexual assault and all that is still illegal.
Yeah.
Racism is illegal.
Yeah.
None of those types of things are going to happen. But I think it's one of those, with him giving the leadership the reins that they should have had from the get-go. He needed to say that, because that's the first two things that they're going to come out with. Well, they're being racist against me because of my sexual orientation or my color of my skin. Like, that's going to be the first ones that are going to try to fight any of these policies. Like, and that's where I see a major scuffle going on within the current commands. He's able to kind of remove a lot of the leadership to get it enforced, but he still has an entire fighting force that isn't 100% on board. There's still some in there trying to trickle their way to the end, thinking they can just slide through.
Right.
And they're going to get weaseled out. They will get weaseled out because honestly, we can't afford a mass exodus. As a military, we can't afford a mass exodus to just get rid of them all. Hey, guess what? Friday, here's your pink slip. See you later. It's going to be a process, and I think that that's where the struggle for these leaders that are in dealing with this right now, because you're going to have the ones that are so uber convinced that their feelings actually matter and that they're allowed to have them, and you have to reconvince them that they don't matter, and I don't really care. Go cry to the chaplain, and you can make your peace with God on how you want to do it, but here's a standard. We don't ask you to like it. What we mandate you to do. We're not even asking you to follow it. We're telling you as a mandate, you will follow this or else. And They can cry to their congressman, and if they're a weak, woke congressman, they're going to listen to it, and they're going to try their shenanigans. But I don't think it's going to get them anywhere. I really don't. I hope that our senior leaders, especially the ones that were in that room that day, take this to heart and make it great again. Make the military what it should be, a number one fighting force, fine of the finest, and it's not something that just any Tom, Dick, and Harry can come into. It is an elite club to be part of the U.S. military. And that goes in, so attacks on DEI. Referencing his book 2024, The War on Warriors, he criticized diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives for allegedly alienating patriotic service members.
And that's what happened.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. Okay. And if you guys want to read a good book, the one Pete Heck says, where you need to read that, The War on Warriors that he wrote. It's a good book. It is.
I'm actually, that's on my next. I don't read a lot of books. I know some of y'all might be a little shocked at that.
Well,
right?
you can get it. You can get it. You can download it on your phone and you can listen to it. It's a good book.
Oh no, I'm gonna buy it. I'm sure it's on Amazon or something. I'm gonna buy it. I just haven't got that for yet. And then so undermining military cohesion. So he's also criticized policies relating to the LGBTQ plus service members, which he views as a social engineering that erodes standards. And that was something else that he had talked about on there was, so we all know, right? The world revolves around social media, whether it's Facebook, TikTok, all of it, right? That's what matters, not the real news, not what's really happening. It's, oh my gosh, who offended me today? Like, and how could they purposely? I know there was one guy that I finally had to start blocking it because it was a dude that wanted to dress up in a dress and then purposely goes to businesses and establishments to get misgendered. You know, they called him by a man, which is what he was, just because he was wearing a dress, and then throws a fit and throws it on all this social media stuff. To try to get him run out of business. And I'm like, that's the dude I will gladly take. I'm not even taking him down the back alley. We're going down Main Street. And I'm whooping that dress right off of you. I don't care. But he had talked about that was getting a grip. Commanders get a grip. And I remember getting talked to about this. Was it's not on the Commandant's reading list. See, that's why I didn't know how to read it. I bet it will be here soon, Mac. I bet it will be here soon. Was they can actually get in trouble for what they put on their social media, and they should. And
he said you should be paying attention to their social media.
Well, yeah, because they'll go on there and they've been starting all these like negative stuff about commands or units or certain branches. Like they get on there and they'll start bashing the military. And they'll do it while they're wearing the uniform. They're that ignorant. And it's just like, and then, so yeah, the crackdown on that too. That's part of that whole wash out the woke, get rid of it, bring out the buckets of dawn. We're cleaning house, get it gone. Yeah. Does it come written in crayon? Maybe. I hope so.
But guys, I mean, again, the link is in the description. Please take some time, listen to the speech. I love how he knew what he wanted to say, and he said it from memory. Okay, he did. He's a great speaker. Number one, he wasn't sitting there reading it off a teleprompter and all this other stuff. He knew exactly what he wanted to say. He got his point across. There was a lot of old codger generals out there, like deers in the headlight, but there was a lot of them taking freaking notes, okay, from every branch of the service, taking notes. And they know, okay, listen, this is what it's going to do. I mean, come on. you do your inspections every year. They make sure you do all your training every single year. They make spot corrections every year. Okay, find out, hey, did you guys really do this? They do all that stuff. Okay, I went through the military when Clinton established the don't ask, don't tell policy. Okay, if you're gay, serve in the military. Who gives a shit? Okay, but don't go in there and think you can put on a female dress uniform and think you're going to get away with it. Okay, it's done. Okay, like he said, no more dudes in dresses. It isn't going to happen. Okay, a lot of people during the Clinton years fought. They said this is bullshit. Blah 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 blah. Gay people have been serving in the military since time began. Trust me, they've been serving, and that's fine. Okay, just don't bring your woke agenda with you. If you were born with a penis, put the male uniform on, and what you do on your pastime, who gives a crap? Because right now, you could be married to the same sex and get into Army family housing or any housing. They can't stop you. Okay, if you're legally married, you get into Army housing. They don't care. But you're not going to bring your woke agenda back into the military, at least not for the next 4 years. Okay, we'll see what happens. Thank God. Hopefully this keeps going, president after president, and they stop all this crap, because America doesn't like it. America doesn't like it. Our military suffered because of it. Okay, the ranks empty. I mean, come on, you didn't get the shot, so we kicked you out. And what did he do? Hey, if you want to come back in, we'll reinstate you. You get your back pay because you got screwed over. Okay. So
yeah. And I think the big thing too, one of the other really big things that he had said during the speech was say with your mouth what we see with our own eyes.
Right.
And I mean, he looked at everyone in the room, and because you've seen it, and we all talk about it now, right? Because we went through it then, and we seen the nastiness, and we seen, the disorganization and all the things that he's trying to change. But there was nothing we could really do about it. If we started upholding standards, and honestly, I think that's what killed my career the way it did. By talking to some of the other individuals later on, some of my senior leadership, they're like, hey, if you just would have learned to play well with others, you probably could have got promoted more. And I was like, there's nothing to play with. Here's the order. Here's the policy.
Yeah.
They don't want to do it that way, and I'm making them come to it. And, I got the black marks for saying, well, we're not going to promote him. He's not a team player. I seem to be on the same team as the Commandant. He's the one who wrote the damn, signed all the orders off. Like, if you want to change the order in the policy, fine. There's a procedure for it. Do it.
Now, there are 10 policy letters coming out. I'm going to try to get a hold of those and read them all, make sense of it, and we'll do a show on those 10 policy letters that Hegseth said is going to be hitting all these commanders' desks. And so we'll talk about all that, and hope you guys will join us for that when we put that together. Jason and I are going fishing this weekend up in North Arkansas with a bunch of other YouTubers. So we're going to be up there. I think it's David, his son, and a friend. Gary and his son's going from Simple Life Reclaim. Jason's going. Pops is going. I'm going. Ridge Life is going. Is Big D going?
Big D is supposed to be coming with his son.
Okay.
Anthony CRC's coming with his son.
Mike from 3 Mississippi Mike from DD5 is coming with his son.
Yep, Mike DD5's bringing. David's brother.
3 Mississippi can't make it.
Yeah, I think when Tim counted on his live before us, we were like 16, 17 of us.
Yeah.
So
I'm
going to be a great time.
We'll film and show everybody everything, but that's where we're going to be this weekend. I'm leaving on Thursday. I'm driving up to Jason's place. I'm going to stay in their their new little travel trailer, spend the night up there, and then we're all going to be driving up there to the fishing camp the next day. So
absolutely looking forward to it. I mean, I know we just got back from a trip ourselves, but been looking forward to this trip. Go get some fishing done. It seems to be the only time of year I get to fish. So
yeah. So
and,
yeah, Sid's mom is getting back. Yeah, she's still in California.
Yeah,
and it's school now, so Frankie can't just stay home and take care of the farm and stuff like that.
Right.
That's why Mike's not coming. I was looking forward to meeting the boyfriend and see how he handles all the interrogations.
I think we met him the last time we did something over there, and he seemed all right with it, but it might, I don't know, maybe it's not even the same.
Well, wait a minute. Was the boyfriend the one where you can't see his eyes? Does he have that curly hair and you can't see his eyes?
I think he did for a while, but it seems like maybe he cut it.
I think that was at David's house. I met him when we had Freedom Weekend at David's house.
Might be a different one by now.
Okay. Yeah,
they don't last. It's always fun to.
They don't last when you're in high school.
Right.
But anyway, guys, hey, I'm glad you guys came in. I hope this was informative. What's that word?
Yeah.
Informative for you.
Words are hard.
But like we say, guys, anytime Jason and I are on here, it's adult conversation. So, if it hurts your ears, hey, I apologize. But we try to keep it real. We try to get you the information to help you out. Good news on that. I teamed up with a company called VetCom. If you're a veteran, and they took over my case with the VA, and they're working with me to get all my new claims in, write them the correct way, and get the VA to get me to my 100%. And so far, what an awesome company. So if you're looking for a company, I'll keep you updated on what they do for me, how responsive. They've been so responsive to me. And I'll let you know what happens at the end, and whether I recommend them. Hey, this is the team to go with or not. So, hey, and hopefully I can get their owner on our show that she can tell you all about the company and what they can provide to the veteran. So,
is that the same Patrick's happened? Is that the same that Gumby's using over at Junk to Gems?
I don't know who he's using.
Yeah, I don't know who he's using either. I know he's going through to get try to get his VA stuff done, but I don't know who he's going through.
Oh, wait a minute.
Neighbors still aren't concerned with their dogs barking, but they will soon. I will not have another night of their dogs. Get him, Bobby. Get him.
So, yeah. Anyway, guys, I want to thank you for coming in. Remember, be kind to one another. Help somebody in need. And always think of that. Guys, we love you. God bless you. We'll see you on the next video.
See ya.
Yep.
Appreciate every one of you being here. Now, come on. Get on out of here.